Hey, what's up, guys? I hope you're enjoying the Be the Difference podcast. If you are, I got a huge favor to ask. Go on to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review for us. It helps us immensely with algorithms and growth because we grow completely by word of mouth, organically. That's why there are no ads. Also, feel free to share this content with somebody you think might get value out of it. Last, if you don't know, I also do coaching to help people become the best version of themselves, starting with physical fitness, going all the way through mindset, sales, and leadership. If you're interested in learning more, there's going to be a link in the description of the podcast. You can schedule a time. It's a free assessment. All I'm going to do is have a conversation with you and see if I can even help you. I look forward to speaking to all of you. Continue to enjoy the podcast, and remember to always be the difference. What's up, everybody? It's Greg Birch with Delta Financial, and this is the Be the Difference podcast. This podcast is all about making you a better person in your life and in your business with coaching on sales, leadership, mindset, marketing, everything under the sun when it comes to being an entrepreneur, and we bring on guest speakers. Today, we got the honor and pleasure of welcoming Mr. Gary Garth. Gary's in the house. Greg. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Thanks, man. Thanks for asking. How about yourself? Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure, man. It's my pleasure. So I did the intro a little bit differently. Usually we're both coming at the same time, but for whatever reason, you weren't on the screen. So I was like, I'm just going to roll with this. Like, we're just going to keep driving forward. So, no, man, it's exciting. We had a really good conversation, beforehand. I think this is going to be a really great podcast. I think you're going to be able to share some interesting insight, wisdom, and I'm excited for having you on.
Likewise, man.
So, for those of you that don't know who Mr. Gary Garth is, Gary is the founder and CEO of Great Dane Ventures, Elevate.io, Accelerator Platform.io, the Goals, Grit, and Greatness Planner, and author of the book, The 0 to 100 Million Sales Blueprint. He also leverages his resources as a sales leader and angel investor, helping high potential startups go to market, scale, and become profitable via 360-degree sales and marketing support, incubator programs, advisory services, and proprietary technology engineered with the purpose of empowering entrepreneurs. He has been featured in Inc., Forbes, Success, and many other prominent publications. A serial entrepreneur since 2002, Gary has started and successfully exited 6 companies, including large outbound sales call centers, radio advertising networks, and an award-winning 8-figure digital marketing agency. Born in Denmark, Gary now lives in Medellin, Colombia. I love Colombia. It's a great place to go visit.
Oh, it's amazing, especially Medellin. That's probably one of my favorite places on earth by now.
Great place, man. Great place. Yeah. So, Gary, thank you so much, man. Let's chat because one of the things that you mentioned when you're like the synergy of mindset, personal development, energy, and all that, and like kind of combining that into sales performance and potential, how you like that. So let's talk about your experience with that and dig in from there.
Absolutely. That is basically the outcome of that basically the origin of the products that I've come to market with now is that over the last 25 years, predominantly working in sales and marketing, but being a serial entrepreneur, you start to identify patterns on what works, what doesn't. You start to see traits that make people go from 0 to 100, right? And there's no silver bullet. I think I've seen your content, listening to your show. I know you resonate with this. It's a combination of a lot of different things. So what I've tried to do here is try to put together a set of tools, a set of learnings, methods that, when you combine them, that's when you can become a top performer in the game. Some of the things is very practical, but you can have a wealth of knowledge. If you're not able to execute on that effectively, you don't have the right discipline, if you're not consistent, if you don't have the right mindset, then all that goes to waste. So really, how do you merge those two elements to become a top performer that is? And that's particularly related to, if and you know this better than anyone, if you want to start your own company, well, welcome to a whole different set of challenges, right?
Mhm.
It's not just about you got all these different departments, leaders, individuals, personalities you got to deal with. But the single most important thing is that, if you want to bring in clients. I always say I'd rather have a fulfillment problem than a sales problem. So if you just secure that you're bringing on customers at a profitable rate, they become clients for life, they stay with you, then you all of a sudden are sustainable, you're profitable, you can reinvest in growth, better product experiences, growing your team, developing. And so that's really what it all stems from. It's, how do you make sure that you're performing at the highest level possible? And when I say that, that's across the recent publications. I published a book back January 24th. It's called the 0 to 100 Million Sales Blueprint. I got a special offer for everybody tuning in today, by the way, your listeners, that I would like to highlight at the end of this recording. But that's basically looking at my own life, my own experiences in terms of like what kind of challenges did I have to overcome to be quote unquote successful. A lot of the things is it could also have been a label 101 things to avoid if you want to be successful in sales and as an entrepreneur, because there's definitely a lot of learnings along that road. And then the second tool that I launched is the Goals, Grit, and Greatness Planner.
Uh-huh.
And that's because my mindset is, my notion is basically, if you want to be a top performer in sales, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you gotta write shit down. You gotta have some clear, concise goals. You gotta understand your personality. What drives you? What emotions do you have? Are you a risk taker? Are you more risk averse in that sense? Do you need to? What are you driven by being significant and helping others? Or are you more, leaning on, I can't step too much of my comfort. So you got to understand yourself and do. So that's why the planner is basically everything that, in my mind, you would need to exercise to become a top performer or successful entrepreneur. That is doing a thorough self-assessment, establishing the right habits, tying everything up, all your goals, detailing your goals, but tying them up with a purpose, and then creating actionable priorities from that. What's your weekly priorities, daily priorities, and tying that up with the quarterly targets. So sorry for the rant, but I'm just trying to merge, everything that I'm currently doing, working with a lot of entrepreneurs. We work a lot with sales and marketing. So I get to touch upon a lot of different topics. Personally, in my last job, I had over 1,000 sales reps over the course of time. So I've seen a lot what works, what doesn't work. We had over 5,000 advertisers in my last company and 300 million managed spend. So once you see it from that perspective, it kind of becomes, from a macro level, you kind of see, okay, these are the kind of individuals that perform. Now, what's the underlying factors that actually drive them to performance? What kind of training did they receive? Did they have any particular background that's worth noting, etc.? And that's basically the culmination of all those learning experiences is where I am today.
So I appreciate it. Don't even apologize when it comes to the rant. I like it. And there's a lot of things I want to break down here and I want to talk about and even dig in for the audience is, you mentioned earlier about, hey, when you become an entrepreneur, all the different things that you're going to have to worry about. But where does it start? It's kind of like that base level, the base skill of sales. Like you have to have the ability to sell when it comes to period, right? And so, this is an interesting concept. Let's break down because you're going to have to learn sales as a skill. You're as an entrepreneur, if you want to build a scale a company, you're going to have to learn management. You have to learn leadership. There's going to be administrative functions and skills that you're going to have to, even if you're not completely handling it, you're going to have to know enough that you know what's being done and it's being done to standard for your company, right? So when thinking about that and all these different ways that you build, I think what happens for most people is that there's so much that they have to do. There's so much that they have to learn. They don't know where to start. They're like, well, how about I throw a little bit in this and a little bit of that and this, that, the other. And so they overwhelm themselves. They do the whole paralysis by analysis because they're thinking of all these things they got to be perfect at. Yes. And so what would you recommend? Somebody's listening to this, they're new entrepreneur or they're looking to start their business, right? what skills do they need to focus on developing first in order to, and I already know what you're probably going to say, but I'm going to throw it out there. What skill sets do you think they need to develop first?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I love this topic. It's actually something I focus on a lot in my book. It's something that gave birth to my Accelerator platform as well, because, I mean, it's a commonly known statistic that 80% of entrepreneurs cease to exist within 18 months or less, right? I attribute it, like yourself, that it's lack of sales. You know, if you got sales, if you got revenue, if you got profitability, you can solve all the other problems in most scenarios, that is. The fact of the matter is, Greg, that not everybody is maybe passionate towards sales. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that I speak with that, you know, they're just great programmers. They love engineering, right? Or you can take the plastic surgeon or the dentist, the doctor, or whichever profession may be accountant. They're very good at their own trade. They have systems. They're prepared for everything else. But sales, the kind of that just comes at the end of the company launch, right? So the very first thing that I would do in those scenarios is to ask yourself the underlying question, you know, and I put this in the topic as a whole chapter in my book to say, like, double down on your strengths and delegate the rest. So very quickly come to the realization whether you're going to own sales or you're going to find either a founder or hire a key hire that can take that full responsibility. Now, that doesn't mean that you should stay out of the equation as an owner, founder, entrepreneur. You always got to stay close to your sales process. You got to understand it. You got to measure. You got to have all the KPIs defined, understanding the metrics, and know what moves the needle so that you can lead the company, run the company. But if you don't have those traits, you better go out and find somebody. So I have like this whole founder values vision questionnaire in my book where, you know, very, very often, so the very first thing is to figure out whether it's the right person that you're partnering up with. Is it the right key hire? How do you motivate them? How do you get aligned on the same vision and strategy? But with that all being said, Greg, to answer your question, what you need to do is put yourself in front of prospective clients at all times, right? You mentioned analysis paralysis. That's a clear-cut example of what I see. I very often get pitched by prospective entrepreneurs that want me as an angel investor to invest in the company, and they have everything else. They have everything baked out, but I want to ask, okay, how many clients do you have? What's your cost per acquisition? What's the most profitable advertising channel? How can we double down on that? They're looking like a deer in the headlights, right? They don't have the answer. So I always recommend, you know, pick up the phone, start talking with prospective clients, get engaged on different platforms, start before you completely bake out your product or your go-to-market strategy. Make sure that you've gotten the feedback from your market. And I've done that time and time again. So I say, like, what I lack in certain skills as an entrepreneur, I've been fortunate at least to not be shy of being on the phone, to talking with a client, and that has helped me a long way. To give you an example, in my last project, we had grown. We were about 300 employees, and there was a change in some contract terms and market conditions. So we were really struggling to hit our targets and receive the kind of funding we had received up on that point. We were a direct sales-focused company at that agency at that point, and had to pivot all of a sudden. Basically, almost do like a Hail Mary, I would say, in lack of a better word, and launch a reseller program. Now, we did not have anything in place at that point, and we had a board of directors and co-founders of the company, a lot of people that had their opinion, had to buy in and so forth. And at that point, I was the CEO of the company, but also acted at all times as the VP of sales, right? I was running the sales department. So what I did at that point was, okay, before I come with a program in terms of saying, okay, here's all the tools and the processes we need and the resources, the hires and the product and market strategy, I picked up the phone. I start calling prospective agencies and say, listen, hi, I'm Gary. I'm calling from XYZ agency. We have this program. Let me get your thoughts on that. We identified you as a prospective partner in this. Here's the benefits. Here's what we can offer. Here's what we see that how you could grow financially. And after some calls, obviously, you know, redefining my pitch, after 2 weeks or so, I went to a board of directors meeting and I put down a contract on a reseller agreement that we're done, even though we didn't have a channel sales program. So that way, I'd done the market research. I had gotten live feedback from several prospective agencies that had turned me down flat. And the first was like, that's a crazy idea. That's stupid. Then I adjusted it, went on to the next one. But after that, I kind of proved the concept and I say, listen, there's a demand, there's an interest. Matter of fact, here's a signed contract. Now we just got to figure out how to fulfill it. And that's something that a trade that many entrepreneurs, they kind of like put to the end and kind of create the product in the market based on some expectations and research, but they haven't actually fulfilled it. Then you go out and trying to hire other salespeople to sell it, but you can't even sell your product yourself. Now that's a recipe for disaster, if you ask me, and maybe one of the main drivers why 80%, or main reasons why 80% of companies cease to exist, startups that is.
Yeah, it's sales. No, I agree 1,000%. That's when it comes to skills, especially building a company. I think sales is the fundamental skill. It is the fundamental skill, and it's also like you can get pretty good at sales, whether you like it or not. I don't care. Everyone sells. Period. It's just influence. It's conversation. You're just influencing somebody to make a decision that you want them to make, to buy your product, your service, or just do something that you want them to do. Right. That's all you're doing. But you can learn the skill of sales relatively quickly just by jumping in and doing it. Right. By like kind of you're going to get your teeth kicked in. You're going to make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
There's people that turn you down. There's nothing wrong with that. You just take note of what happened. And then you say, oh, I said this and they immediately hung up on me. I'm going to try not saying that. Right. Or like, maybe it's offending people or this, that, the other. And you kind of learn through making all those mistakes until you get to a point where you start to get success, you replicate it. And then you start to find all these different strategies, right? Now, obviously, I'm sure reading your book, they can probably go through and listen to all your mistakes and all the things that you did and all the things that you messed up. And they can be like, well, I'm not going to do that. That's the smart thing to do, right? Buy it from somebody that's gone through and made all the mistakes and crossed all the hurdles and all that stuff and the obstacles so that you don't have to. So that you can have your success faster. That's what the point of like getting books like that and reading and doing all that is, so that you can find that success quicker. So, but sales is lifelong. Like you're going to have to, if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to always have to sell and lead. Those are the two skills: sell and lead. Period. Like, and they're very similar in nature. I mean, leadership's a little bit different. There's a lot that goes into it, and like reading personalities, like you were saying earlier, and everything that you're going to have to do in order to inspire people. But the same tactic, you're using a lot of the same tactics in sales that you're doing in leadership. It's influence. You're influencing people, right?
You're selling the vision. You're selling them an idea why they should devote 5 years to your purpose, to your mission here, and try to get that aligned with their personal goals. It's 100% sales. 100% agree.
Yeah. So, what are some mistakes that you've made in sales that you've learned? So give us some history of some, man, this is something that happened that it taught me this very valuable sales lesson that I've been able to apply and make X amount of dollars cents, using this one tactic or strategy.
Oof, that's a good question. I'm thinking you got to understand this 25 years of learning.
That's a lot of Rolodex to go through, right?
Yeah. So one is maybe as a sales professional, and others maybe different observations if you look at it from the lens of an entrepreneur or sales leader. Which lens should we wear today for that question?
I say the sales, like the kind of the newer sales entrepreneur.
The newer sales. Okay, good. Well, classic scenarios is most entrepreneurs, new sales leaders, etc., especially when you're talking about some new startup, there's so much stuff to do, you're cash constrained, and you're basically just finding to live another day and find the right people and get people to execute on your vision. Then I would say that sometimes try to begin with the end in mind, right? So it really starts like, okay, so do you understand your prospective customers? So it's not necessarily even though you say sales, sales and marketing to me is the same world, right? I call it marketing. It's a popular concept, it's been around for many years, but it's like, okay, let's understand the firmographics, the demographics, even the psychographics of our prospective customers. What pain points do they have? Where do they live? How can we get a hold of them? What resonates? How do we stand out from the crowd? Thinking like blue ocean versus red ocean strategy. So that with all that intelligence doing, and I'd even take it to the next level where I would say, have you as a sales leader asked your marketing team or done it yourself, done mystery shopping, called up on all your competitors, understanding the contract terms, the pros and cons, what sets you apart, what's your unique selling proposition selling up against them when issuing a contract or trying to win a deal. Having all that intelligence, that's really what shapes your value proposition, your unique selling proposition, and then developing your product out of that. So one of the very first things that I always test entrepreneurs that I work with is like, give me your elevator pitch, right? Do you have it locked down? Can you say it like eloquently, fluently, as I woke you up 2 a.m. in the morning, you just deliver it on the spot? So when you ask what number one question is, because everything goes on there, right? How you should do prospecting. What's your most? Is it emails? Is it calls? Is it LinkedIn? How much should you invest in advertising? If you do so, how do you cut through the noise and position yourself competitively? All that originates from doing the proper research and then deploying it. And then it goes into a whole different set of elements about creating a sales plan, baking out process for everything, scripts, email templates, have everything prepared. But all that comes from not preparing yourself properly. And to give you a personal example of how, when I didn't do that, I've done it time and time over again. I call it, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So not that you should go into analysis paralysis mode in terms of go to market and start testing. But if you don't understand all the different factors, then you're definitely not going to get sales done the right way. Because sales nowadays is much more than being like a used car salesman, right? I mean, now it's about solving problems, adding value, demonstrating the impact your problems or solutions will do. How can they generate an ROI as a result of that? And that's impossible to do if you don't know your customers as the back of your hand. So my very first example was when I was 19 years old. I launched my very first company. I was living back in Denmark there, visiting my brother, Pax in Texas. And this is a while ago. This was back when you had DVD players. For all your young listeners out there, that's before everything was digital and Netflix and so forth. So these DVD players, they were regionalized. So movies came out 6 months earlier in Denmark in US that they came in Denmark. So when I walked into a Blockbuster 19 years old, I ended up maxing out spending all my savings, just filling 3 suitcases of DVD players to take them back, because these were gonna sell like hot cookies, right? When I came back to Denmark. But I had not done enough research to understand that there was a regional DVD player system. So those DVDs didn't even work back home, right? So that's obviously when you're 19 years old, you're not really thinking too much, right? But that was the first example where I didn't prepare properly on how to go to market. But then even my last project, I did it again. We basically went to market and was selling PPC advertising solutions, and we had very, very skilled head of PPC. My former partner has written a book on Google Ads and knew exactly how to do it. And we would contract people in Nicaragua, Central America, where we ended up growing a very, very big company. Because of the bilingual talent pool there, we could offer high quality solutions at a very affordable rates, no contracts, very competitive. So it's like everybody's going to jump on this right away, right? But we had just not done the proper research in terms of understanding, the expectations in terms of, what these SMBs wanted, what kind of level of support they needed, how we should structure the offering properly. We hadn't gone out and investigated all the competitors in the US market back then. We didn't understand that at that point you needed a top tier website in order to convert the traffic we're converting. If the business owner didn't have the right sales process in place, if they were not answering the phones, if they didn't have, we could drive the best qualified leads to the website, but it wouldn't necessarily turn into profitability. So that resulted in us pivoting even a couple of times from a company standpoint. And again, based on those learnings, I would say failing to prepare is one of the number one lessons I would say that I've learned in my last 6 projects.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like especially the DVDs. Man, the kids today, you guys got no idea of what he's talking about. Because I do.
Like what?
Because I remember when they were region locked. Because I took a bunch of DVDs when I went to Iraq and Afghanistan. That's how we watched movies. So you buy a local DVD player from them, and like nothing's working. You're like, son of a bitch, like you don't even know. So that was like, well, we had to order a DVD player to come in to fly, so that it was like it wasn't region locked anymore. So
well, what we did back then was actually I hired this techie to go in and basically pull it apart and put in a little chip that would basically would make it work at the end of the day. But that was obviously not exactly legal.
Yeah.
You would lose the warranty on your equipment. So not something that gave us a whole other subset of problems. So point is, yes, do your research, especially with the sales hat on, right? So again, look at competitors, look at your prospective clients, do mystery shopping is something I always recommend. And then make sure that you craft your offer based on those learnings.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. That's a smart thing to do, mystery shopping. So you can use that as a way to craft your offer as well. So you know what the competitors are doing as well. Not just to like.
Oh yeah. No,
it gives you a good understanding.
I didn't even know about that concept until like 5 years ago. We were a high growth partner with Google, premier partner number 22. We were fastest growing, voted number 3 fastest growing agency at that time. We're killing it basically. And then all of a sudden I get a meeting invite from Google and a strategic partnership manager there. And he was like, yeah, we have some results from a mystery shopping process we undergone with you guys. Come again. And they had some fake company that they had set up with a Google employee. They went to our website, they submitted the contact form. One of my reps would contact them, give them the whole spiel. They would challenge them, they would give rebuttals, they would sign up, they would receive payment, and they would see how we service them, the client, for 3 months to understand our entire customer journey. So I was like blown away, and that was like, wait a minute, that's actually pretty damn smart.
Yeah.
What if I had that intelligence on others? Like how uniquely could I position our products and ourselves? And more important, you take that knowledge, Greg. And I don't know if you're very experienced in sales and business, so you probably do this intuitively even. But like very often, I would say you take this mystery shopping, then you distill it, right? So it becomes a one-pager that you hand off to your reps and say, here's the top 10 competitors, here's the pros and cons. Here's how we position ourselves uniquely against them. Because a sales leader, a sales manager, the business owner, they may know this in their head, but the problem is putting it down on paper and then handing it out to your reps and then coaching them on it. Yeah. That's really something that can make a big difference.
Absolutely. And there's a lot that Gary is breaking down right now. These are some high level sales concepts, by the way. Most of you on this that are listening, you're like probably mind's blown. Go back and re-listen to it and try to understand and absorb this. The more you kind of listen and kind of conceptualize it, you're going to be able to understand and apply it better to your business as you grow. So this may be something, depending upon your level, that you're going to do right away. But there are ways that you can apply it. So for instance, you're brand new in any sales entrepreneur job and you want to know like how to best craft your pitch. Well, you can go sit down and listen to 10 of the competitors and how their basic salespeople are doing their pitch, and just listen and take notes. Things that you like, they're like, dude, I really like when they said this. This like touched me. What emotion did it provoke in you? Capture that. And then do that across the board. You can create your own sales pitch just by listening to other people and like how it affects you as a buyer. Man, that right there is a game changer. You could craft a really good sales pitch that way. So
totally, that's a very good advice.
So yeah, if what Gary's talking about at the business level, and like how when we were just discussing Google, if you're like, oh, well, that doesn't apply, take it from the macro and bring it down to micro, is what I'm saying. So you can still find ways to apply a lot of these strategies, even at the individual solopreneur level, that you can craft every single piece of your business as you grow. So
Yes.
So you've been an entrepreneur. You've been doing this for 20 plus over 20 years, almost 21 years, right?
Yes, sir.
What got you into being like where you decided like I'm going all in, I'm being an entrepreneur? Like how did that happen for you?
Well, I think on my end, I think everybody has a different motivating drivers for them,
Yes.
which is, by the way, incredibly important when you want to build out a company and find the right hires, etc. So in my case, I would say I started out with some early on motivation when I was 19 years old. That's obviously that motivation was entirely different than what I have now. And it was back then it was simply just to make money, make it get wealthy, buy all the gadgets and swag that I wanted, right? As a typical like teenager, early 20s, etc. I was very fortunate that I did a couple of right moves, maybe more luck than experience, definitely. I was very, very hungry. And by 25, I was a millionaire. I I spent all the money. I was very good at making money also, right? And as I've evolved, my values and my perspective has just changed. So now it's more like when I sold the shares in my last company, I was fortunate to cash out with a very nice chunk of money and could really take the time to give things a perspective, like what I want to do next. I actually spent a whole year traveling around the world and on a spiritual quest, right? I did a lot of plant medicine, psychedelics, try to like ask some big questions. What's my purpose? What am I here for? Right? I had just spent 5-10 years, and one of some of our biggest clients were lawyers. And I was like, really, am I put on this earth to sell advertising to lawyers that are just turning around and then invoicing their clients these ridiculously high-end six-figure bills? How is that doing any good?
Yeah.
So for me, when I then launched my this new venture firm that I have and all the subset projects that I have companies beneath it, was like, well, how can I make money? Obviously, that's the only way to grow a business, is to be profitable. So you can reinvest, grow people, grow your clients, grow the impact you're making, but also how can I make a difference, right? How can I give value at a whole different set of levels? So that's my big driver now. And I think like in the beginning, hunger is a very big one. And that's also why I put in my book, it's a chapter in terms of, and it ties very much up with our first point in terms of like, in terms of what's the most important skill set as an entrepreneur, and sales is definitely number one in my opinion. It's like, how do you find the right salespeople? I have a chapter that's called "Great Salespeople Are Made, Not Born," and that's after again managing over 1,000 reps in my last project alone. I've kind of seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. I know what works. So what I did is that I said, okay, stop hiring for experience, right? Start just looking at what they did in the last job, because what made them really effective in the last job? How refined was the product? Did they have certain back office operational support that helped them drive sales? How many leads did they get versus outreach? That's and I can go on in terms of the different parameters that makes a difference. But what's universal is like kind of your attitude, right?
Behaviors.
Your attributes, right?
Yeah.
That's something that's truly coachable. So I put 20 attributes and that you should look for when hiring sales reps. So you go back to me as an entrepreneur, a salesperson. I was hungry, I was disciplined, and you can also see that in sales reps. Are they veteran in the military, right? And you learn a lot that you can apply into business and sales from that. Matter of fact, I was reading the other day that 2/3 of top executives have a military background. and 1/3 of those has martial acts. What do you learn there? You learn discipline and how to stay on course and focus, etc. So my point is, with these 20 attributes, you can look at that. Are they competitive? Are they a good storyteller? Are they good at listening? Are they coachable? And that's the kind of application you need to apply it in order to be successful in sales. That is.
I love that you're talking about the way that you hire and how you are more looking at behaviors, and I think that is very, very important when it comes to hiring agents or sales. Can anyone do sales? Yes, anyone can. Anyone can do sales. I think
100%.
that they're just like you said. They are made, not born.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the issue that people run into is that when they're hiring their sales force, they have the same like anyone can do this mentality, and so they try to hire everybody, like, and then they're just the person that's going to do it, and magically kind of comes through, and they give everybody an opportunity, and that actually hurts your business's ability to grow, because now you have so many people that aren't doing it, and you're creating this like culture of inaction instead of having the sales like, hey, I'm going to identify people based off of behaviors, not based off of past performance.
Correct.
And asking questions to kind of understand who this person is, what do they believe in, what kind of core values do they align themselves with, finding that right person and then getting them rolling. Man, that's you're gonna because they're gonna take the coaching, they're gonna take the teaching, they're gonna apply everything, they're gonna be humble, coachable, and they're gonna perform a lot better, because now you can focus on that one person, and it's building slowly but the right way, instead of trying to mass build. That mass build model reminds me of people going to a casino and just taking a bunch of money and throwing it, and like just
that's a very good way to put it,
and just waiting for a jackpot. And that's what they're doing. You're just hiring everybody until you're waiting for a jackpot that will just do the work regardless, because they're a self-starter, they're coachable, they're teachable. They're not really coachable, teachable, but they're going to find out, they're resourceful.
They'll find a way.
They're going to find a way, right? And you may not like the way they find, by the way.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
Not like it.
So, and like my last project, I launched a channel sales, like a reseller program, where we would have other marketing agencies sell our products, right? I personally onboarded more than 200 resellers. And, that's a whole different topic, channel sales, resellers, so forth. But for me, it was an objective. Okay, right now I sign up XYZ company and they have 10 reps and they're selling websites. How can I get them to sell our products? So I would fly in, train them, right? Talk with the VP of sales, how they're selling, how can we add this to the equation? When is the right time to pitch it, what to focus on, and who should top performing reps? Let me talk with them. And, throughout that journey, you're seeing all these resellers, and then combined with all my own reps, I kind of saw like, that's the number one challenge, right? For an entrepreneur, that's, to use your analogy, they go to the casino, they find this one, that they hit this right number on this one person, but why are they selling? One person might be an amazing relationship builder and storyteller, and they build trust and they convey a certain level of confidence in the prospect that they sign up. And with the next guy, he's just a fucking machine. He doesn't eat lunch and he just calls. For him, it's a numbers game. He gets the same results as an outcome. So what product do you have, right? How do you want to position yourself? Unpeeling all those layers of understanding so that you can start hiring for the right attribute, or more importantly, are they coachable so that you can teach them all these elements. That's why one person may be successful in one sales organization and unsuccessful in another if they're not coachable that way. So it's incredibly difficult to do, but important. And there's a lot of ways that I also reveal in my book on how I do it, especially because I usually worked in competitive industries where, you have to pay 6 figures or more for a top performing account executive. And the competition, the minute they get good, right, then they get a job offer from Google or LinkedIn or some other company, and then shit, man, so how do you create career development paths that motivate people to keep going on?
Yeah.
hire, and how do you make them effective? So for me, when I hire, I break it down into several layers now because of these experiences, Greg. If any hire comes in for a sales position, I would do like an assessment center. Sell this XYZ, not this sell this pen. That's too Wolf of Wall Street like. But his given scenario, company X, here's the positions. Spend 5 minutes to try to formulate an action plan on how you position, what questions you would ask. Put them up on the whiteboard, and then afterwards I'll give them my honest feedback. I think you should do that differently. Maybe that was not as good, or you're talking too much, asking too little questions. Let's try to do it again and see again. Then I see how coachable they are. Can they change their approach, or are they like locked in on one? So
that's good. That's good. That's really good. And so someone else told me that recently I don't know, about like a month and a half ago, they were talking about how they hire their sales force. They're like, dude, I actually have them sell me like whatever they've sold previously. I told them like, hey, go and sell me what you do. Or, hey, what's the biggest objection you typically get? Okay, how do you tell me how like overcome that objection? I want to hear it. And then they'll say, I'll purposely, no matter what, I'll just be like, hey, I didn't like that. I want you to say it like this, or that, or the other. And he's like, I want to see how they react. I want to see, are they coachable? Are they teachable? Are they humble? Right?
Yeah.
If I tell them, hey, say it like this, and I say, okay, now let's try that again. Did they apply it? Or did they say it the same exact way as they did the first time?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, if they keep saying the same way, they're not coachable. They're not teachable. If they get offended, well, I'm like, hey, I like, that doesn't sound good. Do this. Blah, blah, blah. If they get all offended, like, well, that's how I've been taught. That's how I've been doing it. He was like, then they're going to come in. They're going to fight on everything. Right.
That's another red flag. Yes.
So no, I love that. I love that you're bringing that up. That's a great way for hiring anyway, especially for salespeople, is because they're going to get opposition. They're going to get told no. We want to see how they react when that happens, even from within the interview. Like, are they cool, calm, collected? Do they take it in stride and be like, because that's the best way to overcome objection. Not freak out about it.
Yeah,
just
totally.
Be like, you just be like, oh, okay, perfect. Well, let me see how I can help you with this, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and as you said, it's not only for sales. Like I would also do it for, like, say, a PPC, SEO specialist, web designer, somebody coming in for a job interview like that. Well, they do the first screen, they check off all the boxes, etc. Flip them over a white paper for your given profession, your different industry in terms of some topic, and then have them digest it and give them answers to some things, or have them actually do a test landing page or create an account structure if it's a PPC specialist. Have them do something on site for an hour or so, or have them prepare, read the chapter in the book or so forth. Because the other thing about that is that it also identifies who's willing to go above and beyond. Is this somebody that checks in at 9 o'clock and checks out at 5? How hungry are they? Are they willing to prepare for the success? A lot of those different attributes are revealed in that process. If they're like, hey, I'm not getting paid to do this job yet, well, guess what? Then just move on to the next job, because we're looking for somebody who, actually coming in here to learn, be humble, as you said, and do whatever it takes to get clients results, etc. So I would always apply it across any company I would run.
Oh, dang, I love it. There's a lot of good nuggets there, especially for those of you that are starting to build a team. You want to go back and listen to that, because those are great ways that you can start to hire your own sales force and make sure that the people you're bringing on are the right people. That's the best thing that you can do, because you're not going to be wasting your time or their time when it comes to actually getting them started rolling and making money really quickly. I see that for those of you who are watching the video version on YouTube, you can probably see that it looks like your battery is about to die because you got a battery blinking.
Oh,
Gary,
okay.
on your screen. Not a big deal. We're coming up on the end anyways. You mentioned that for the end of this that we would have something special for listeners. So go ahead and talk about that. And also, what's the best place where people can connect with you on?
Yes, best place is go to my personal website, garygarth.com. Where I have links to all the different projects. And then secondly, I have a special offer for all your listeners. I think it resonates perfectly with your messaging, because everything we talked about, all the lessons, all these detailed high-level sales concepts, I actually break it down. I did this because there's so many great books out there on sales. I could easily name my favorite top 10 books, but many of them are subject matter specific. How do you do X, Y, Z? What's the psychology of sales? How do you train sales reps? How do you which tech stacks do you combine? There's a lot of great books out there, but I felt as an entrepreneur or sales leader, you want to have one resource where they cover everything. This is basically 16 chapters where it starts, end in mind, and it covers all the different subjects. So it's 420 pages, is a lot. So if you go to the page, it's called 0 to 100 million or GaryGarth.com. You go to the book page, you apply the coupon at the checkout, Be the Difference, all in one, and I will. The book costs $30 on Amazon. I will give it for free as long as you pay shipping and handling, which is $12.75. So I'm doing this to get the word out, help a lot of companies, entrepreneurs become successful, avoid those statistics of shutting down their shop, and more importantly, making an impact, grow, etc. So I hope everybody picks up a copy. Please send me direct feedback if anything.
Dude,
I read all the emails myself.
That is very gracious of you to be able to provide that. Just again, the code, Be the Difference, all together, one word, get the book for free. Just pay for shipping and handling. You can't really beat that. That's 400 pages of wisdom from someone that's been in sales for the past 20 plus years. Why would you not do it?
It's endorsed by the head of sales at Google, Amazon, Microsoft, LinkedIn. So because I worked a lot in the reseller channel, so I guarantee just a few of the concepts, if you apply it to your business, I guarantee 2023 is going to look entirely different for you. So go to the site, Be the Difference coupon, and looking forward to the feedback.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Gary, because I think we're going to have to jump off here a little bit early just because I think your cable's going to die.
Sorry about that.
No, it's okay, man. It's okay. Thank you so much for jumping on and the gracious offer for all the listeners. Make sure that you actually tap into that and you are utilizing and getting this incredible offer from Gary. If you learned anything, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to share this content with other people that can also learn and grow. They can go check out Gary on his website. They can also use the offer. They can get the value just by you sharing this content. Takes you 60 seconds to rate, review, subscribe, share with another person, but it means the world to both Gary and myself. So thank you so much for taking part. This has been the Be the Difference podcast. I'm your host, Greg Birch. Until next time, we'll see you.